Hello, I hope you all are doing so well. Thank you so much for being here. So I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on. We are in it, and by that I don't mean we're in the muck, although that may be the experience of it. What's happening right now is it's so profound, it's so amazing, it's so brilliant, it's so unbelievable. It's so much more immense, profound, and magical than we could have ever possibly imagined. So what is happening right now is this clearing of the past. It's a clearing of the shadow matrix that we have lived in, that we have existed in, that we have expressed through, that we have taken on as part of ourselves, as we have believed ourselves to be a part of this. We have never been within the clarity of the light in such a way as we are now. And so what this means is all of the past distortion that we have bought into, acted through, interacted with, built upon, has to be released from the field. So wherever perhaps we have not identified certain points in our field that are attached to this, those will be coming up most strongly. But for the most part, if you've been aware and working on your own self, then you've identified along the way all these things within you that perhaps you dislike or you felt were not working properly and things like this, right? So this is how we kind of, I don't want to say tag the field, but where we bring the light in, we bring in this awareness, right, to these points. And sometimes they're not ready to be fully released. You know, we need to know things, more light needs to come in, all this kind of stuff. And this is where we can feel like we keep doing these repeated returns to certain issues, right? It's not that we didn't get the lesson the first time. There's more and more layers. And each layer you will find is going to be attached to other things, right? So it's not like, oh, you didn't get the lesson and now we're going to come in and just beat you up over it, and now you have to have a tower moment and all these kinds of things. That's all that kind of stuff, I have to say. So this is what's really coming up big time now too, is this whole kind of healing realm that we have created around how soul energy works, how souls exist here on this planet. It's really quite ridiculous, and yet we needed that in order to not go insane through the human mind, right? The truth is that we are these light beings in a human form, having a human experience. And the truth is also that we came into these forms to have this experience through the human so that we could find this, so that we could root it out, so that we could clear it, so that we could dismantle it. So it's not that we haven't been getting assistance from the light. It's not that we have been trapped here. It has felt like that. If it didn't feel like that, we wouldn't have done the work and we wouldn't have gotten rid of this shit. So it's all a part of the greater process. And yet what's happening in this moment is the need to recognize this so that we can fully let go of what we have been in the past. Not just this lifetime, every lifetime, not just this universe, all universes. So it's a huge job in front of us right now. But it's a job of release. It's a job of surrender. It's a job of alignment and attunement. So it's not the same painful process that we have had in the past. In fact, this is what's being downloaded into the fields now. That we can have our essence flashed into our field and we can attune to that through another. This is true soul work. This is true shamanic practice. We are each a type of shamanic practitioner in the sense that when we look at another and we see their true soul essence and we hold into that and reflect that to them, which means that we're not reacting to the systems, we're not reacting to the programs, we're not allowing our darkness to flow up, we're not allowing ourselves to react to their darkness, we hold into the truth of the light. That reflected so powerfully back is that explosion of light, which is what is happening now. Where we are able to stand in our own presence, even if through our human mind we don't know it or believe it, it doesn't matter when we hold into it through our heart. This is what continues to build this light transference through the fields. It's a chain reaction of light explosion. And this is the process which these systems have worked so hard to suppress, right? In fact, it's taken that chain reaction effect of building light and used it in reverse to suppress, right? So when you come in contact with another light being, instead of your light connecting and reacting and building, you've connected through the wounded, parts of you, your wounded expressions, your wounded experiences, and continued to devolve your fields in that way, right? Continued to play out these expressions, continued to build within the distorted systems, all the while complaining to the universe, where's my light? Where's my help? Right? It's been here all along. Haven't had quite enough light here to fully dismantle this, to fully lift through the fields. But it's here now. And part of the work in this specific period of time that we're in is to know this and hold into this. So again, even if you don't fully believe it through the human, you are this, and you have to hold into this in order to get enough light and lift through your field to kind of bridge over this breakdown that's happening through the system right now. So you may not believe all of this, and yet what's going to happen is that if we continue to look at the distortion and continue to be affected by it and continue to say, poor me, oh my goodness, what the heck, ugh, you're falling into that kind of breakdown of that system, right? So it's to hold the opposite, which is that I know I'm light, and it may not have worked out in the past, and that's okay, because the light was not built up enough yet here to be able to do this, but it is. I'm telling you it is. So hold into that knowing, if that's the least bit of knowing you can hold into, it's that it is here. I've been experiencing it. It's a bit awkward to stumble through until I've been describing it like this, right? It's like those old engines, that you used to have to like crank before it would start, right? So this is what we've been doing. We've been cranking, and then we get pulled down into the negativity, and then we're like, oh yeah, light, okay. Cranking it just hasn't been enough, right? We haven't been able to get enough revolutions of the spin in order to build where the field then activates and takes over and is self-sustaining. But we can now, and we're at that point. But with this, we're having to totally let go of this whole mind construct we have built about what it means to be a starseed, what it means to be a light being, what it means to be here to help humanity. All of this empathic nonsense that we have bought into. And the main part of this too is this idea that it's not safe to exist here in this world when I shine my light. I don't want to be seen because it's really scary, because people attack me and I'm targeted, and there's this like psyop mission to kill me. But that's all stories and narratives too, right? Because the truth is, your power is in you shining your light and not believing all this other stuff that you are hearing and seeing in the external reality. This is such a theory that we have to protect our field. We have to have boundaries. We have to do this, right, in order to stay safe. But what's really happening now is that we're insulating ourselves from allowing the field to properly activate itself. So wherever we go into fear is where we step back into our cave. And I've said this before, it's like we need to go out into beyond our fears. We need to overpower those fears with our light. And this is kind of the practice that I started taking up about a month or two ago, was like, I don't care what it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be in my life or not, but if it feels negative, I am throwing light at it, right? It's either going to reorder or it's going to go away. And anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I stay in this light, I stay in this truth, I stay in this knowing. And it's had a profound impact in my life. Over the last, let's say the last month, massive shifts and changes. So yes, we're in these transits. Yes, there's a lot of shit coming to the surface. But again, we've always been in that hell. That hell has always been here. This is nothing new. It's just now coming to the surface to be seen. So don't get tripped up by it. Don't get confused by it. Don't forget who you truly are. Because you're not here to just overcome it. That was your past life here, right? Like in this lifetime, I've said, we have 2 lives. It's the work, the mission, the karmic, whatever that we come here to do, all the stuff we've cleared through. And now we're at this reset point, which means that we can move forward now in our light and in the work of building rather than what has been had to be dismantled. And that was the frustration. We're like, what are we doing here? We know, and this is the thing, right? This is your knowing. This is the truth that you should continue to hold into, right? Your heart that would always say, what the heck? This is unfair. that is you knowing yourself as the light, that there's supposed to be something much, much different for your experience here, right? So you already know you're the light. The fact that you are so distressed about your current reality is your light speaking. That inherent knowingness that this reality is supposed to be much different than what we're experiencing, right? So that's your knowing and that's your truth. And yet we're letting go of all of this that we have experienced so far, right? So there's this huge kind of like raining down through the field, these sheets of shadows that are being released. So allow it to be released. But also with that, we have to surrender what we think we know is right for us. Because what we want is different than what we need. And what we need is what our soul has already put in place for us. And we really have very little idea about how this universe truly works through the human. So anywhere we are kind of projecting this human understanding or human desire or human kind of, the human kind of trying to lay out all these puzzle pieces and see how all these things fit, we just can't do it. We can't do it, and it's going to screw us up. Really having to just drop into the center, into the heart, and to feel our way through this now. Because the mind is going to bring up every objection possible, every resistance possible, and it's all related to distortion. Everything in our mind is built on distortion. It's mind programming, mind control, past trauma experiences. But it's up to us and our light consciousness to know this in the mind and to know enough to say no to that and to release out of it. It's like, I'm going to feel into my body. I'm going to feel into my experience. Even though this looks nasty and this looks horrible, it's like, but my body feels okay. What does that mean? My heart feels centered. What does that mean? Because this is totally opposite to what I may have expected or what I may have accepted in my past. And this is kind of what I've been experiencing, is that I'm having this it's not a visceral reaction, right? Because it's not in my body, but it's like my mind is just taking over and it's saying, well, you know what, that looks a little bit off. And in the past, this happened and that happened. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so I have to be careful, red flags, all this stuff. And yet, when I check in with my body, with my energy field is like, here it is. So now I'm having to shift and figure, okay, things I rejected in the past, it's because I was looking at the physical reality of it and not feeling into the underlying energy of it. Not to say that I should not have rejected that, right? Because again, we were doing mission work. We were coming into these places to find this distortion. So the very thing I rejected in the past, right, was what I was coming in order to correct anyway. So now it's kind of showing up again here, and I'm saying, wait a second, now I'm aware, now we're releasing out of this dark mother system, we're releasing out of this prison system. Let me take a different look at what's showing up here. It's not what I would have thought. It's not what I thought I was calling in for myself, but it's actually showing up with everything that I wanted and that I've been asking for. It's just not in the way my mind may have constructed it or the image I may have had about what it was going to look like or sound like or feel like or whatever. But this is the magic of the universe, and this is the time we're in. So yes, all this is going on over here, but all this is available here as well. And can we step into that? Can we bridge over that? Can we hold into the light long enough to feel that lift, activate our field into our true knowing? Because these, I don't want to say they're new realms. They're old fields that have been dormant. Things we brought here, things we created lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes ago that we're resurrecting now. So this memory that may be coming up inside of you, this beautiful, bountiful remembrance and experience of what it's like to be truly in our light essence. We haven't felt this yet in this lifetime, but it's coming up now and we can tap into that. But in order to do that, we have to allow, again, these sheets of shadows to continue to fall out and to not compare what we're feeling now to anything in the past, and to release all these objections and resistances through the field. So I don't know that I want to talk about much more than that, except to say, yeah, it could be really horrible right now, but it's also really, really wonderful. And it's also really, really available. And can you find this, see it, tap into it, and attune to that? And again, this is this different flow. We're truly in the flow of surrender now. Whereas again, in the past, we'd be like, oh, you have to surrender. Oh, you have to flow. And you're like, oh my God, I am. And like, I'm stuck at the bottom of the river. I just sank. Like I didn't flow, kind of thing. Once again, it's a reset. We have started over, not started over, right? Like we're just beginning to start in these new energies here. Again, these ancient fields, let's say, that were here before, but we hadn't activated into. So we are activated into them now. So it's like opening up this magnificent kind of hidden, um, armoire, and like, oh my God, all these treasures. We had no idea were here. We had a sense of it. We knew there was something that was missing, right? And now it's like to see it, it's like, it's actually real. Everything I was dreaming and thinking and feeling, like it's actually physically real and possible. Yes, absolutely. We are here. We are in it. So find your way back to that original activation, your essence of your light, because it's here for you. And it's not going to look like you imagine, and it's not going to feel like you thought it might feel. It's not going to happen the way you may have imagined it's going to happen, but it's here. And you can do this. I know you can. It's about having your essence flashed into you and you holding into that when you feel that. That is the truth. And just allowing all the things that come up through the mind to fall to the ground. Because all that wants to do is just pull you in to have you continue to feed that system of distortion. And that's not what we're here to do. We never were here to do that. We had to dismantle that, which we have done. And now we're moving forward into the sunset, into the rainbows. So this heart-centered presence, which we have fought so long to try and feel, right? Every time that we would get into the light, we would feel good, and then it would, that was kind of that lack of, I always say, bioavailability of light, right? In the body, in the field. But it's fully active now. It's fully activated. It's been unlocked. So step in to your future, step into your present, step into the essence of who you are. And let's enjoy the ride, because that's what we're here to do, is to enjoy this. It's supposed to be fun. It hasn't been, I know, but it will be. It is. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Take good care.